Hi, this is Munson with Munson Music, and we're talking about how you could play a song called Blackbird by the Beatles. And it starts out with some very cool things that are like compound thirds. So the intro part actually kind of starts out on the low E string on the 3rd fret, and then you play it with the open B string, and that's kind of implying a little G chord. And I'm kind of doing that thumb and middle, so I'm doing thumb for my basses and kind of taking middle finger and kind of doing the B string at the same time. And then the index finger for the entire song, actually, we're cheating this slightly from the Paul McCartney strum, but these are easy guitar lessons. So we're doing thumb and middle, and then going index to the G string right after that. And that's kind of implying a G major chord. You may want to just take just that one thing and try it a lot. And normally when you're doing fingerstyle on the guitar, we use abbreviations akin to classical guitar. So the thumb is pulgar or P, index is or indesso or I, M is medio or middle, and then the ring finger is angular, A. So if I start saying P, I, M, and A, that's what I'm talking about. So what we're starting with actually is kind of thumb and middle, so P and M, and then I at the same time. You could even practice that in the air, actually, to practice the thought of it. That would be a cool thing. So you could kind of start out with the G major chord, and then from there we put the first finger on the B string on the 1st fret and kind of do the A string for our bass, which is kind of implying a little A minor 7 chord. And then from there we're going to be going to the 2nd fret on the A string, and I'm doing the 2nd finger for a B note, and then the pinky is going to go to the B string on the 3rd fret for a D note. And if you do both of those together, technically this is a G/B chord. Actually, it's a G major chord, but there's a B note in the bass that your thumb's playing. Now, what can be very useful for thinking about the song, though, is to kind of look at that shape where your 2nd finger and your pinky are, and what that is kind of a minor 3rd shape or a flat 3 shape, or akin to a minor chord. So you could even think about that as a B minor shape for those two, and kind of the G as a drone if you wanted to. So it's almost like a little walk-up where you're going G major, A minor, B minor, and then from there, if you kind of take the 2nd finger and the pinky and slide them all the way up the A and the B string until you get the 10th fret on the A string and the pinky on the B string on the 12th fret. And that's a G and a B note. It's kind of another, and this is actually a major 3rd shape, actually. It's kind of from the G to the B note. So you're going to a G major shape. And then the arpeggio, or what the right hand is doing, if to break up the chords, is slightly changing there. We do thumb and middle, and then index, but then we're going to add another thumb, and then another middle, and then another index to it. So we're going P and M, I, P, M, I, or thumb, middle, index, thumb, middle, index, through that part. And that kind of comes back in a lot of different places, actually, kind of that arpeggio. And actually, just practicing that intro, actually, you're really practicing almost everything that your right hand has to do for the whole song. So even just taking just that first little bit of kind of G, A minor, B minor, G major, it's kind of getting a lot of the song down, actually. And then from there we go into our verse part. And our verse actually starts out that same way with kind of that intro for the G, A minor, B minor, and then the G major. But then from there we go to some slightly different shapes, and this is kind of cool. We're going to take that 2 and 4, or 2nd finger, 4th finger, and slide them back to 3rd fret and then 5th fret on the B string. So I got 3rd fret on the A string with the 2nd finger, pinky on the B string 5th, and that's a C and an E note. So you can kind of think about this as kind of a little C chord working the 3rd shape. So it's a major because it looks like the G one we were doing at the top, and it's a C one because we're playing a C note on the A string. And then from there, we're going to take that shape, and then we're going to take the 2nd finger and slide to 4th fret on the A string, and take the 1st finger and go to the high E on the 3rd fret. Now those two notes together are really nasty. You're playing a C sharp and a G note at the same time. So your right hand does have to change a little bit here to get the high E string instead of the B string. And that's really something called a tritone, or the devil's interval is the tritone. It's found in every blues chord ever, or just about every blues chord. Well, every dominant 7 chord. But so it's kind of a C sharp tritone idea, or TT for tritone idea with the G string added. And it's this cool little voice leading thing where you start on the C major chord, and then you slide up 1 fret for the C sharp tritone, and then we end up sequencing that. And what sequence means is you're doing the same thing but on different notes. So then we take the 2nd finger and slide to 5th fret on the A string, and put the pinky on the B string on the 7th fret, and now you're playing a D and an F sharp note together. So it's like a little D major chord. And then from the D major chord, we end up sliding the 2nd finger over 1 fret to a D sharp note, and then the 1st finger goes to the high E on the 5th fret, for kind of a D sharp and an A tritone, which sounds really nasty. So your middle finger's having to kind of go to the high E string again. And that's the kind of a cool sequence that you may want to practice actually through the tune, is kind of getting that second finger, fourth finger to the first finger, second finger. Middle finger has to kind of move between the B string to the high E string, B string to the high E string. And then from there we end up kind of taking the second finger and sliding over one more fret to the 7th fret on the A string, and then the pinky's going to actually go to the B string on the 8th fret. So now we're playing an E and a G note together. So it looks like that B minor shape we were doing from 2nd and 3rd fret, but now it's on 7th and 8th fret, and we're using an E for our bass note. So that's an E minor chord, kind of in a really small way. And we end up doing that whole arpeggio that we did on the G major earlier. And then we're going to take the second finger and slide it down one fret. So now it's a E flat major, which is crazy cool, voice leading wise. And then from there, actually, well, through that sequence, you got C major, C sharp tritone, D major, D sharp tritone, E minor chord with the whole arpeggio, E flat major with the whole arpeggio. And then we have this cool little walk down where we take 2nd and 4th finger and slide them back to 5th and 7th to the D chord. But then we go back to the C sharp tritone on the 4th and 3rd frets, and then go back to the C major chord, but we do the whole arpeggio, and then the pinky slides down one fret to 4th fret, making this a C minor chord. So now it's very sad. I went from happy to sad. It's a Zarathustra moment. And then from the C, then we go to the B minor arpeggio, or the G/B arpeggio, and we do that through the whole arpeggio. And then the turnaround, or what's normally called the turnaround, to kind of set you up to start over again, we go we take 2nd finger, or 1st finger, or any old finger you want to, and go to the B string on the 2nd fret, and then use the A string for the bass on that. And that's kind of implying an A7 chord. Actually, we're kind of playing an A and a C sharp note and using a G as kind of our flat 7. And then from there, we're going 1st finger to the B string on the 1st fret and changing basses to the D string to kind of get a D7 kind of involved at the very end. So there's a cool little turnaround where we're going from C major to C minor to a G/B or B minor to an A7 to a D7 chord. It sounds like you're doing a whole bunch of stuff, you know, but we're just kind of moving a couple notes here and there. And then we end up back on our G major chord. So through that whole verse, you guys, the walk up from the very beginning, just like our intro part. So we kind of start out with our intro with the G major twice. And then from there, we start our walk up on our verse where we got the C major, C sharp tritone, D major, D sharp tritone, E minor with the whole arpeggio, E flat with the whole arpeggio, D major with kind of our thumb middle index, C sharp tritone, C major through the whole arpeggio, C minor through the whole arpeggio, G/B with the whole arpeggio, A7 with the whole arpeggio, D7 with the whole arpeggio, and then we end up back on the G major chord. And then there's kind of a cool little tag where you go back to the C major, and then go right to the G/B, and then we do the whole arpeggio pattern on the A7, whole arpeggio pattern on the D7, and then whole arpeggio pattern on the G major. It's kind of a tag to that first verse. Then from there, then we repeat all that, because we got another verse. So we got kind of G major, A minor, G/B, G major, G major, and then C major, C sharp tritone, D major, D sharp tritone, E minor, E flat major, D major, C sharp tritone, C major, C minor, G/B, A7, D7, G major. But then we jump into our chorus part. And this is cool because Paul McCartney suddenly decides he's in a different key. So on the chorus part, we start out on the A string on the 8th fret, and the pinky's going to be on the B string on the 10th fret. And that's like a little F major chord. You've got an F and an A note that's down. And a lot of this is going to kind of half the arpeggio. We kind of do just that thumb middle index. And then from there we go to the E minor we did before, but then we take that shape of kind of that minor shape and slide it down to 5th fret and then 6th fret. So now I got 5th fret on the A, 6th fret on the B string. So it's a little D minor chord because we got D on the A string. And then we do the C major that we were doing before, but then we take that shape and slide it back to 1st fret and 3rd fret, which kind of makes it a B flat major. So now I got a B flat in the bass on the A string, pinky on the B string, 3rd fret for a D note. And then from there, then we go back to kind of our C major and kind of do the whole arpeggio. So through the chorus, which is slightly easier than our verse, we're doing F major, half in the arpeggio, E minor, half of it, D minor, half of it, C major with half of it, B flat with the whole arpeggio, C major with the whole arpeggio. And then the second time through, we do the F again, we do the E minor again, D minor again, C major again, but then B flat with the whole arpeggio. And then we go to the A7 with our whole arpeggio, and then the D7 with our whole arpeggio. From there, then we're going back to our verse part. So we kind of start our intro back again and with the G major. And then from there, then we go into our C walk up again. So we got C major, C sharp tritone, D major, D sharp tritone, E minor with the whole arpeggio, E flat with the whole arpeggio, D major with half of it, C sharp tritone, C major with our whole arpeggio, C minor with the whole arpeggio, G slash B with the whole arpeggio, A7, arpeggio, D7, and then we're back to that G major again. And then from there, then we go back into our chorus part. So we're back to kind of our F major, E minor, D minor, C major, B flat, C, and then F, E minor, D minor, C, B flat, A7, D7, G, and then we go right back into our intro part. So we're back to kind of our G walk up with the A minor, G slash B, G. But this particular time, we kind of stay on the G for a long time, and we might want to kind of break it up a little bit. Or you can even kind of take your index finger, and this is what Paul does, this crazy cool little strum. So you kind of try and strum some strings with your index instead of playing just the G string. Although it does sound very clean to do just the G string. And then bird sing. Or you could be a metronome. But anyway, and then from there, then we kind of go back and kind of do almost like our turnaround again, where we do half of the G, A minor, G slash B, C major, G slash B, A7, and then go back to D7 for our whole arpeggio. So a little variation on our turnaround. And then from there, then we go back into our verse again. So we're back to our intro part with the G, A minor, G slash B, and then our G major. And then we go right back into kind of our verse walk up where we got the C major, C sharp tritone, D major, D sharp tritone, E minor with the whole arpeggio, E flat with the whole arpeggio, D major, C sharp tritone, C major with the whole arpeggio, C minor, G slash B or B minor, depending on how you're thinking about it, A7, D7, and then G major. And at the very end, we kind of have a little tag for our outro where we go back to the C, and for just half our arpeggio, G slash B for half the arpeggio, whole arpeggio on the A7, whole arpeggio on the D7, whole arpeggio on the G, and then we jump right back to the C, G slash B, A7 with the whole arpeggio, D7 with the whole arpeggio, and then G. But that's the basics of how you could fingerstyle through Blackbird by the Beatles, so good luck!